Ooh, ooh, ooh. I had an idea for a Patreon podcast.
Okay.
Because I don't want to overestimate your anime knowledge. But from my perspective, you know literally every anime to ever come
Oh
out.
God, no.
Because I know none. So I was thinking a new, maybe every other week we record this podcast. Maybe it's not an every week one. It's probably a little shorter, but you recommend me a piece of anime, and then we discuss that piece of anime.
My anime knowledge is surprisingly limited.
Yeah, but
Certainly more
to,
than
to
you.
me, to me, to me, and all the other normies, you're the expert,
Sure.
and that's all that
I
matters,
can I
right?
can I can cook up some recommendations.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be something you've seen
yeah, it's
either
true. Yeah.
ahead of time,
I
because
certainly
you're gonna rewatch it.
I have a long list of things I've been recommended anime wise, so we can work through that.
Okay, and we can just pretend like you knew it the whole time, and there you go. So I think that'd be a good Patreon exclusive.
That'll be fun.
5,
4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2, 1.
I know you see. Somehow the world's gonna change for me and feel so wonderful.
Dun, 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 dun,
Live
dun.
life, breathe in. Shit.
I've never watched an episode of iCarly.
You're not missing much.
Aw. You know what I did watch, like all of though,
Is it?
was Sam and Cat.
Oh, really?
I missed iCarly and Victorious. I wasn't in that generation, or I wasn't on the Nick around that time. But then I jumped on right around Sam and Cat time, and I think I've seen every episode.
That's about when I fell off of that, so that's fine.
I think it's when most people did, but not Grant. That's right when he got started.
You're like, oh, this shit is actually awesome.
They had pair phones.
Oh, they have pair phones. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, I want a pair phone. That's all I remember. And there was a guy named like Goomer or Boomer.
Oh
He
yeah.
was in it.
Was that
I
the
remember
show
him.
with the puppet?
I don't know.
Okay, because I know there's like a guy who carries around like a puppet in one of the Dan Schneider shows.
That could probably be any Nickelodeon or Disney show that I watched.
Okay,
That sounds accurate to all of them,
great. Okay.
but also none of them.
Oh, I'm thinking of Fun and Fancy Free. My bad.
No, you're thinking of the film Fun and Fancy Free.
Yeah, of course.
From the 1940s. That's of course.
How can I fuck that up?
It's a great movie. If you're watching this podcast or listening, which would make more sense because there's not much to watch, you should watch the film Fun and Fancy Free.
No.
Just so that you can have an opinion on it like we do.
No, you don't need to do that. You're similar to iCarly. You're not missing a whole lot there.
Yeah. It's got Jiminy Cricket. Doesn't that sound fun? Yeah.
Well, that's true. It does have the best Disney character, one of the best Disney characters, Jiminy.
There you go.
Jeremiah Cricket. I don't think Jiminy is short for Jeremiah, but
no,
it might be.
I would doubt it.
I think Jeremy is short for Jeremiah.
Sure, but no.
I don't know what Jiminy is short for. It might be. It might still be. Whatever.
I think his name might just be Jiminy.
Well, I know, but like the name in general, like Mickey's name is Mickey Mouse, but I like calling him Michael Mouse because it's funny. It's funny because like watching a lot of these like early Disney stuff, including like I had like some old VHSs and stuff like that. Jiminy Cricket was like a mascot for Disney for a while, and then going, he like hosted stuff, and he was like one of the main people and a lot of like sing along VHSs and all that. And then like going to Disneyland, like there's like no Jiminy Cricket anything.
Yeah,
like, there's a Pinocchio ride.
He's in the Pinocchio ride. I'm trying to remember. He pops up and no, that's the mouse in Dumbo. For a minute, I thought he was maybe on the Dumbo ride, but no, that is the mouse from Dumbo, which makes sense.
I didn't even find many pins of Jiminy Cricket, which
really?
I was like super shocked by.
I
found the one
crazy.
that was in the same collection as like the Sword in the Stone one and the Fantasia one I found.
Yeah.
Or it's like the box with the movie stuff.
Yeah.
But like besides that, I couldn't find anything. No plush, no like hats, nothing.
Yeah. I'm surprised because they have those like shoulder plushes where you like it's like a magnet so you can like have it on your shoulder.
Yeah.
That would be kind of the perfect Jiminy Cricket plush.
Oh my god, that'd be so sick.
Yeah, you could have Jiminy on your shoulder, your conscience on your shoulder.
I saw a Pooh Bear, I saw a rat, a bird of some variety, but I forget which bird.
A rat. They had Groot, little baby Groot for a while.
Oh, I did see that
and
too.
I think they're not plushes, but they're doing like fireflies for when the Tiana ride opens.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but no,
I
that
don't
would
really
make
like
sense for
the
Jiminy.
Firefly in that movie very much, but
Well, I think that it's a different Firefly because the Firefly in that movie died. So
well, yeah, that's true.
I don't.
But like that hasn't stopped them from making merch of other characters.
No, they've confirmed that Tiana's a sequel ride. So if it's based on the Tiana ride, then he is in the grave.
Then he won't be there.
He will not.
Okay, I see. Well, if he shows up, then I'm gonna laugh and point and call you very silly.
You come after me for that. Yeah, my friend at Disneyland, Wish had just come out, and I was telling her how much I hated it, which she found very humorous because they had that goat from Wish all over Disneyland at the time. He was in every store, every window. He was the popcorn bucket at every popcorn stand, and I love buying popcorn buckets. And that was like maybe the only trip I haven't bought a popcorn bucket because they were all the goat from
funny.
Wish.
I
did not want that.
I saw Wish merchandise at the park, and it was always next to other merchandise, and it was always like there was always visibly more of back stock of the Wish merchandise relative to everything else.
Oh, I don't think it sold at all.
Yeah, like the Ariel bubble wand that plays the first 10 seconds of Under the Sea. Like those were selling like hotcakes. And then you have like the same version of like the lady from Wish.
Yeah.
They're all there. You can build a fucking house with them.
We're going to be getting so many Disney sequels now.
Oh, yeah.
They are done with. I mean, I'm sure we'll get an original here and there, but of the like last 4 originals, Encanto is the only one that really hit. So no,
Encanto did really well, right?
Encanto did outstanding. Not quite in the theater, but I think the Disney Plus launch, it was just talked about everywhere. Is that Flippin' Bruno song was everywhere, and people were just talking about it constantly. That's what they need to do. And I'm sure they do try somewhat, but they need to get like the catchiest song possible in their new movies, and they will hit because it will be all over TikTok.
They're
and
trying.
People will go. Was there anything in Wish that was like, wow, this is gonna be everywhere? This is a Bruno.
I'm sure in their minds they had a song that was like that.
My problem is I can't remember any of the songs.
Yeah, I haven't watched Wish yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I know there's the song that Twitter complained about because the lyrics are nonsensical.
I no clue. No clue what we're even talking about.
The villain song.
Oh. Yeah, it wasn't great. Could have been a lot better.
I don't know if there's any specific song that's like supposed to be, but I imagine one of them is,
Well, you should really watch Wish. It's really great. You'll love it.
Oh, trust me, I will be. Okay, but one last nonsense before we go is that I hate themed bathrooms in theme parks like a lot. I went to Disneyland with my family.
Yeah.
And my mom and my cousin and my uncle and aunt, they love Star Wars. So we spent like most of the second and third day in Star Wars land. And every time I had to take a shit, I went into one of the themed Star Wars bathrooms, and the whole time I heard like weird alien noises and jazz, and like I'm just here just trying my best. Let's get this over and done with. I don't know. It's a little infuriating. I want to be honest.
Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of the Harry Potter bathrooms where the little ghost girl is laughing at me while I pee. That is not my favorite thing.
So.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I forgot. Your house is pretty crazy over there.
I'm just used to people pointing and laughing at me when I pee, so like I don't mind that. but yeah, no, it's crazy. I don't really get it. I don't get the appeal of like everything needs to be immersive.
I disagree. I like my bathroom nice and themed. I don't want to be taken out while I'm taking a shit.
You go to like the Winnie the Pooh bathroom and it's just a tree.
Go. Go here.
Tarzan's like play jungle, like they have a bathroom and it's just just like a ring of leaves and an arrow. Just this is where you go.
That's what I want. That's the perfect theme park right there.
Yeah. This is a nice classy cold open. I'm glad we're doing this. Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of the Boys Season 4 podcast. I'm with my special guest, Grant Smiley. Say hello, Grant.
Hello.
So we both watched The Boys Season 4. I watched it as it was airing. You watched it as it was airing too,
Yeah,
right?
The only thing I was a little late on was the first few because I was rewatching, or no, watching. I'd rewatched The Boys Season 3 because I really wasn't very. I didn't remember it as well as the first two seasons. And then I watched Gen V for the first time. So I think I was maybe a week late to starting the first three episodes that aired, but then I did stick along with it as it came out after that.
Yeah, I think I also I didn't know it was going. I didn't know it was airing. So the first 3 or 4 episodes I missed, and I watched all of those up front, and then watched week to week after that. I also watched Gen V for this because halfway through I realized, oh, this is probably important. Yeah, it was fairly important. But yeah,
I'm definitely glad I watched it. Yeah.
Do we want to just get into it? Just start talking about.
Yeah, let's get into Gen V. It was a cool show.
Oh, we're talking about Gen V. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The Gen V podcast, right?
Hello and welcome to the Gen V podcast, the mini podcast within a podcast with my special Grant.
Yeah.
Guest Smiley.
Guess. Yeah. So Gen V was pretty good.
I like Gen V a lot. I was kind of surprised because I thought a lot of what I liked about the Boys show was less like the superhero framing and a lot more like the characters and interactions there. So I was a little skeptical of like a spin-off show, but I was very impressed. I liked it a lot. There's definitely like a lot more to explore within like a superhero backdrop. Like it feels kind of maybe a little obvious to me, like superhero high school, but I think it was pulled off really well, and they did interesting things with it, which was cool.
Yeah, I agree. And mentioning like the spinning off, I think that's interesting how people have kind of interpreted that. Because a lot of people are like, oh, they make fun of the MCU for having so many spin-offs, and yet they're doing spin-offs and they've announced some new spin-offs. But what they seem to be dedicated to right now is one season a year, which is like just genuinely a return to regular TV.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of streaming shows are now 2 or 3 years away. So as long as they keep it to one season a year, I really don't see them. I don't see it as going against their own morals or whatever, what they're making fun of. If anything, I think it's nice to see a show do that, even though it is through different series.
Yeah, because like I think a lot of what makes those criticisms of like the MCU and Star Wars and things along those lines is less that there are spin-offs that exist, and at least from my perspective is just the level of content that's like coming in. It's like an avalanche of things to keep up with. And like, with this, it's if you just view Gen V almost like as another season of The Boys, it comes out once a year, you get your season. Like, I agree. I have very little issue with this. Not that I've like had many issues with spin-offs in general.
No, it's just interesting to see how people complain. They complain so much about the Marvel and Star Wars spin-offs and stuff, and then they point at The Boys and they're like, well, now you guys are doing the same thing, even though you made fun of it.
Yeah.
I disagree that it being the exact same thing.
No, I don't resonate with that either. feels completely different, and I really like the direction they went with this.
Yeah, I liked all the characters in Gen V, and that's where your strength needs to be. I think is in your characters. It's why people watch The Boys. So that's your number one. Is if we're gonna introduce all these new characters, they all got to really have their own strengths. And I think they did that. And definitely like a fun pocket to explore. Is that the Gen V podcast? Are we done?
I feel like we should say more, but I don't know.
I don't have notes about the Gen V.
I don't either. I have very
what were their names?
Unlike last time.
What were the good characters' names? I have notes about Gen V related to The Boys Season 4, but it would seem weird to get into those right now because they're related to a lot of my other thoughts on The Boys Season 4.
All right, and thank you for listening to the Gen V podcast. We will be joining you next week within another podcast, or maybe we won't, with a special grant of some variety. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. All right, welcome back to The Boys Season 4 podcast, Episode 1, with my special guest, Grant Smiley. Say hello,
Happy
Grant.
to be here. Happy to be here.
Okay. God damn it. So we were talking about The Boys Season 4.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start.
So do you have any overall impressions? Like, how do you feel about this one relative to the other seasons? Did you like this? Did you dislike it?
Yeah, maybe that's a good place to start, is like my thoughts on all 4 seasons now viewed together. I think season 1 is the strongest, but that's very common for me with a show when you can have a show like this that's so much about the world building and what makes this different from what we're used to. So it's really fun to get to explore that in the first season, and I think it makes for a really strong season. So it's going to be hard to top that, I think. I know last week I even mentioned that sometimes I think the first season can be a weaker season. So it's funny. It really does depend on the show. Season 3 I think is probably my second favorite, and a lot of that is reliant on Soldier Boy. He is just fantastic. Jensen Ackles just is such a standout.
He does a very good job.
And that, I think, made that season rise above some of the others. It's such a silly thing to like point at one guy and be like, that's what makes it. But God, that he does such a great job in that season. It's hard to find characters that stand out as much as he did. And then I think season 2, it might be the weakest for me, but I really like season 2. And then season 4 is probably right behind 3. But I really did love this season as well.
Yeah, I have like a pretty similar ranking. I still think season 1 is probably the strongest season. I find it very interesting. It gives us, obviously the concept's very good, but it executes on those like very well, of just like, these are superheroes, they are morally corrupt and dubious, and just we're going to do as much as we can with that concept right out of the gates, which I like a lot. Season 3 I think is also my second favorite. And I like season 2 the least, so I guess that puts season 4 at third. I think that sounds about right.
Yeah. You've rewatched season 2 recently, right?
I also rewatched all the seasons.
Okay. Season 2 and One of the Boys I haven't seen probably for a couple of years.
That's fair.
So they're a little less strong in my head. Definitely season 2 is the weakest in my head now. I remember the Stormfront stuff. But I really love, like, there are definitely a lot of things I can point to in that season that I loved. I just I agree that it probably is the weakest.
I also like season 3 kind of putting our main characters were already like had some moral grayness to them, but like, you know, Huey and Butcher taking V and having to like think about what that means, whether they're willing to like kind of put aside some other high road values to like kind of even out the playing field, also kind of adds to a lot of Butcher's development. You know, that's where we kind of get this idea of like scorched earth, and Butcher kind of wanting to just push everything aside as long as like Homelander dies, which are themes that kind of get really pushed to their edge in season 4 and really built up, which I found very interesting.
Yeah, I think it makes for a really great middle season. Because I wouldn't have liked like I think it's a really great concept to do that, and again I think it works really well with the themes where we were at with those characters. But I'm also really glad it didn't last.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't have liked to have seen that in the final season because then it kind of feels a little cop out.
Hmm.
But to put that right in the middle, do something really interesting with it, make sure it really comes into the themes of the characters, where they're at, completes their arc, kind of takes in a different path for Butcher and Huey. I think it was a great way to do it, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah. Yeah. So overall, season four relative to the others, it's weird because I put it at third, which means it's like the bottom half of the boys, but I still really enjoyed it.
I actually wrote my favorite episode this season was definitely the farm episode, episode 5.
Oh yeah.
It's called "Beware the Jabberwock, My Son."
Mm.
That's the episode where we get Huey's dad. I don't know if we've mentioned this, but spoiler warning for the boys season 4. We're just going to talk about everything. Um, but the that's where we get Huey's dad passing away and all the stuff that climaxes with that. That's where, of course, we get the farm. Giancarlo Esposito returns as what is that character's name?
Stan Edgar.
Stan Edgar. I had the note somewhere. I love Giancarlo in that role. It's obviously very similar to a couple of his other roles, but I just always love seeing him on screen. And that has the V52 Expo stuff too as well. So that episode, a lot of that really stood out to me looking back.
Yeah, episode 5 and episode 6 are both that I can like identify in my head as like individual episodes with their own like arc. Episodes like 1, 2, 3 feel very much like they blend together for me.
The only thing I can really like go back and be like, I know exactly where that's placed was the ice skating rink scene is in 3. That was one of my favorite scenes of the season, not just because it's over the top and funny, but it was one of those scenes where Homelander felt really intense again. Like I was like, oh crap, they're in trouble when Huey's trying to get away from him. I didn't felt that intensity with Homelander probably since season 2. Maybe one of my complaints of 3, but obviously it's hard when you do give your characters powers to still make someone feel like such a threat.
Yeah, something I noticed going back revisiting season 1 is that whenever there's a soup on screen, like the air is thick. It's intense, you know. If A-Train or Translucent or Homelander is in a room with one of our characters, like it's very intense. It's very threatening. Very much like how the hell are we going to get out of this situation, right? And like I think that's kind of like as Homelander has kind of spiraled mentally, which I think is an interesting and makes sense for his character to go. But as he's kind of spiraled, he's lost a lot more of that like intimidation, and you know, you have a lot more characters calling him out for just basically being kind of a like very emotionally mature and not really able to like think very far ahead, which I think does hurt his threat level.
Yeah, he lost his cred.
Yeah,
Lost his edge.
but like I think this season does a good job in balancing like season 3 and kind of season 2 does it a little bit too, of like Homelander's really spiraling, he's really falling off the deep end, he's like clearly not all there, but he still has that intimidation, he's still clearly very threatening, and you know, every scene he's in where you know he's about to do something, it's like, oh shit, something bad's gonna happen, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to talk about the scene where he returns to the Vaughn facility where he was like produced. Like that whole episode, Homelander being in that room was just this like thick.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my god, what is he going to do? Is he going to let any of these people off the hook? Like, what is he thinking? What's going on? Very, very effective for me.
Oh, extremely great performance. But great for the character. That was certainly a way to put him back in that place of intensity. Genuine, like there are like almost horror aspects in this show sometimes when you have a character like Homelander in a room with just human characters. It's almost scary. And that was a great place to take that character, I think. You know, another character I'd like to see get their edge back
Ooh.
is Gru from the Despicable Me films. If I could only just talk about Despicable Me 4 for just a moment.
Sure.
Gru he's lost his edge completely.
Hold on.
He's
Hold on. Welcome to the Despicable Me 4 podcast. I am your host, Grant Smiley, and with me is my special Bert. And anyways, we're going to talk about Despicable Me 4 for a second, and how
a film you have not seen.
A film I have not seen and have very few opinions about.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
because you haven't seen it.
But yeah, you're just talking about how you want Gru to start edging again. Is that right?
So Gru, he get his family threatened by Cockroach Man, and you know what he does? He just goes to a safe house. He's like, oh, I don't want any of that smoke, and he just goes to a safe house. Is this the Gru we know from Despicable Me 1 who stole the moon? No, it's not. It's not. I want him back. I want Gru back. The real Gru.
Now,
so Despicable Me 5. Yeah.
Playing devil's advocate as someone who's not watched this at all, could one argue that his kind of shrinking back and reluctancy for conflict shows a growth for him as a person, going away from his like villainy deeds and more of like a homebody family man?
Bert.
Yes.
He spends a fourth of this film scared to play a tennis match with his neighbor because he's worried he's going to be bad at tennis.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's very telling of his character. You know, this
is the man who defeated El Macho. Come on, he can't play Stephen Colbert in a tennis match.
Well, I'd be very intimidated by Stephen Colbert.
That's true. I take back everything I said.
He's incredibly handsome.
And terrifying at the same time.
Yes.
He walks that line.
I'm just saying that, like, you know, Gru becoming, like, Dad Man. Mm-hmm. But I guess in Despicable Me 2, he's also Dad Man. And he does still engage in the plot as opposed to just, like, having his tail tucked between his legs.
Despicable Me 5. Make a Logan-style film. Don't attach it to anything.
I watched Logan recently.
Box office explode, or whatever they say. You watched the first 12 minutes of Logan.
The first 30 minutes of Logan.
Did you get that far?
I saw. We should save this for the next episode.
That's true. Listen to the next episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, Despicable Me 5, Gru realizes how much he misses villainy. He goes back to villainy, and he's great at it. And there's no problems, because that's the movie I want to see. I want to see a movie with no conflict, right?
I want to see conflict resolution. I want to see a movie where my characters regress from the arc that fundamentally changed them and just go back to the character I liked before.
Those are my favorite types of movies, actually.
Yeah, I want to see a movie in The Mummy 2. I want Tom Cruise to immediately lose all his mummy powers and have to do the arc of the first movie again.
Bert.
What's up?
What are your thoughts on The Last Jedi? Okay, so back to The Boys season 4.
I like The Last Jedi a lot, actually, which I think is a controversial opinion. Or maybe it's not anymore.
I have no clue what is or not anymore. I also like The Last Jedi a lot.
I really like what they do with Luke's character because he is a fundamentally different character, and his opinion, and like, because where he is makes sense with what everything else has happened, you know? Like, him being this, like, crotchety, bitter old man makes a lot of sense given what the plot has been and what his character was like in the previous movies.
Interesting. Have you considered he's a different character than when we last saw him 30 years ago?
I did.
Have you considered that?
I did.
Yeah. It's a big complaint.
See,
He's not the exact same archetype as the last time I saw him.
Yeah. Very, very, very similar to Gru, I would argue.
No. You've turned my Gru argument on its head.
God. This is a mess.
We should probably go back to our other podcast.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to this Big Wool Me 5 podcast. I've been your host, and we'll see you next time. So I recently watched the second episode of ER. I thought it was really good. What do you think about the second episode of ER, Grant? Have you watched ER? I know last time we mentioned they happened to see the first episode, but I don't know if you've like continued it since then or if you happened to see it on TV. But yeah, I didn't think the episode was that funny, Grant.
Why was it called Day 2? Or sorry, fuck. I ruined my joke. Why was it not called Day 2? The episode was called Day 1. Well, but wasn't last episode Day 1?
Well, because the episode is partially from the perspective of the new Doctor.
Wasn't he there on Day 1?
Yeah, but this is like his first day, like full day. Like he showed up like halfway through.
He did a lot though last time.
I don't disagree. Look.
Yeah, I would count it as quite the day.
I mean, yeah, the last episode was called 24 Hours, and this was called Day 1.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it was that old guy whose wife's dying. Maybe it was his Day 1 at the hospital.
I think he's been alive for more than one day, Grant.
It was that baby who came in.
Oh, well, that was in the last episode.
No, this was a new baby.
Oh, that baby. Yeah.
Yep.
It's weird because like the second episode of ER doesn't really have like the same like boom, 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 boom things constantly.
It is a slower paced episode,
but it still has like all the plot lines, like all the different shit happening at once.
Yeah,
which is like a weird thing because I don't know. Like the pacing is like theoretically slower, but it still has the same number of things.
It does have a lot of things. I don't know how they did it. With slightly more slower conversations, maybe.
I just thought it was interesting.
Did you like this episode more or less than 24 Hours?
I think I liked it a little less. It felt a little less stylized than the first one, but I think it more speaks to the strength of the pilot than the weakness of this episode. Because this episode is still like pretty strong.
Something in this episode I really liked that was in the last episode too. It just really in this episode is where I really was starting to take note of it. Is how designed every shot feels with its extras.
Yeah.
Every shot is so filled, and you can always watch what's going on in the background, and it makes this world feel so lived in, unlike a lot of shows and movies I see now.
Yeah.
And it's a big complaint of stuff I see now sometimes, is like, this feels just fake because it doesn't feel like people live here.
Every shot feels alive, like it's a world that's moving constantly, whether or not the characters do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I like it a lot. And the show does a good job of like, even with these like kind of small, tiny stories that get told in small little chunks, like still does a very good job like keeping me attached emotionally and like invested in what's going on. Like the old man and his wife, I felt very like connected and invested in like where's it going to go, what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you know, I felt like real sad when he kind of when the old man kind of started to accept what the situation was, you know.
Yeah, and what a great duality to have that going. Well, in the lobby, they're celebrating a marriage. Like, what a cool yin and yang. Yeah, I think we had more death this episode than the last episode. More lost patients. We had the old woman. Also, the wife died in the car accident. I don't remember, I guess, as many deaths last time.
Yeah.
Like, I remember very like in the like they're like, oh, we lost that one,
Yeah,
but it was more like background just to establish that it happened. It seemed
yeah, not as focused on.
so it was, and they were impactful.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think I really liked it. I'm like not super engaged with the new doctor and what he and I forget his name. But
I
like
have no
the
clue.
med
I don't know any of
student,
the doctors'
he's
names.
probably
Yeah, I gotcha.
I'm not like super engaged with the med student, and it feels like he's getting more focus, which I don't know.
Hmm.
I think part of that is just like he doesn't like do a whole lot in the scenes. He like kind of bumbles about,
Yeah,
and obviously like he's trying his best, but I don't really feel like I have an understanding of if he's like phoning it in or if he's trying his best or and just simply doesn't know what he's doing. If he cares, if he doesn't care. So that's like one of my only big complaints about the show so far. All the other characters I like a lot.
I really liked when he saved the one patient with the clear.
Oh, that's true.
Um,
Yeah.
I would say that's probably the only thing I was really into that happened with him this episode.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, no, when he saved the one guy, I thought that was really cool. He seems to be hooking up with the Poison Ivy girl, which is probably the biggest red flag I've ever seen in anybody.
Yeah.
Um, she comes in with Poison Ivy on her rectum, from what I can tell, just so that a doctor will look at her rectum. Then she picks him, and he does his job, takes care of the Poison Ivy, and she somehow finds his car, breaks into it, and then says, "Let's go back to your place." When he gets in,
And he says, yeah,
yeah, he's like, "Sure, sure, that sounds great."
I see no qualms with this.
Insanity,
Well, they
man.
didn't have dating apps back in 1960,
Oh,
so
so you just had to break into someone's car.
yeah,
I
this is
see.
flirting in 1959. You know, where I assume the show takes place.
Yeah. I think that's right.
It's close.
Yeah.
If it's not 1959, it's like 1958. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels right around that time.
Yeah, it's a real period piece. But yeah, no, I've been liking ER so far. I don't have as much to say about this one as I did the last one. I don't know. I'm invested. I'd like to see more, see what happens next.
Last couple notes I had, I thought it was so funny. And it's not funny, but we talked about last week how like babies bring up the intensity a bit, and this and immediately it jumps into another baby problem.
I hope there's at
Happy the
least
baby
one
survived.
baby related thing per episode.
It might be, man.
Babies and old people
I've had like
seem to be
three
the
now.
like two constants. You know.
Yeah. It was a little more connected than I thought it would be to last week's. I just thought they were going to be very, this is the episode this week, and it's not going to connect to anything last week, but there were a few carryover plots. I think they said it was 8 weeks later, so it was quite a while.
Yeah. Well,
was
why
a
is
couple
it called
months.
day one if it's 8 weeks later?
Yeah, it should be day 60.
Yeah. What were they
That's
thinking?
not 7 times 8, but
Cinema sins ding.
ding, ding.
Dang.
Helicopter was cool, but like, do they have an elevator at the top of those stairs, or are they carrying those patients down those stairs? Because they ran up the stairs.
That seems very cruel to like if
Yeah.
if a if they need to bring them out in a helicopter, then almost certainly they cannot walk down the stairs.
Get up off the bed. We need you to get down these. It wouldn't seem safe to like, hold the thing, like angle it. They'd slide off it. So I'm just saying. You need an elevator there. Is that about it on thoughts?
I think that's all I have on ER.
Okay. Then I want to finish, like I did last week, with talking about actors I recognized. This episode has Tobin Bell, also known as Jigsaw.
Oh my god, he was in this episode? Who was
he was the not the guy who like is like, do not send the dementia patient to my place, but the guy she talks to later, the old, kind of older, I guess. He was credited as hospital administrator, so he didn't have a name.
Yeah. Oh,
But
okay. I
yeah,
didn't even recognize that.
that was Jigsaw, and then I actually recognized I knew Jigsaw was going to be in it because I actually Tobin Bell's name appeared in the credits. I know Tobin Bell, but the one that surprised me more, I was kind of actually more excited to see, was John Randolph plays Mr. Franks, the old man whose wife's dying,
Oh, yeah.
and he is Clark's dad in Christmas Vacation, and I was really excited to see him.
I did not recognize anyone in this show. Everyone looked
That's
new to
okay.
me. I know the guy who played Batman.
Yep, and that's the only other thing he's done.
Yeah, I think
Where'd
that's
that
the
guy
only thing he's
go?
known for.
Where'd he go? I haven't seen him.
I just know because he's like, I'm
They
Batman.
should, they should have him play Batman again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe in a
maybe
really
in a
bad movie.
multi-universe crossover movie.
Yeah, a really bad one that I really don't like. That's where you should play
Well, how do you
Batman
know you don't
again.
like it? It hasn't come out yet.
That's what I'd want from it.
Oh, I see. You want to not like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Throw a couple CGI cameos in there, and there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Nicolas Cage was in ER.
We don't know. We have like
Yeah,
6,000
we
episodes
have
to still
many
get
episodes
through.
to go. Theoretically, anyone can show up within the next 15 seasons.
I'm surprised how many people. I mean, we've done 2 episodes. I've already recognized 3 people that aren't in the main cast, so that was
Yeah.
cool. Should probably talk about The Boys at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did you outro us from the ER podcast?
well, that's not a podcast. That's just what
Oh.
do we watch anything interesting this week?
Yeah. Okay, I won't include it in the edit. I'll cut it.
I don't think I said the ER podcast.
No, I don't think so. I think you asked me if I watched ER,
Yeah.
to which I didn't answer.
To which you burst out laughing for like a minute straight.
Shit's a mess.
This is a lot less put together than last episode. How'd you feel about the new characters from this season? We have Firecracker, and we have Sage, and I think that's it in terms of new character. Oh, we have Butcher's buddy,
Joe Kessler.
Joe Kessler. Yes.
Yeah. He's an interesting one, isn't he?
I really like Joe Kessler. I think he
Oh, me too.
both like spoilers. Both before and after like the big twist about what's going on with
Yes.
Butcher. But yeah, he has like a very much like couldn't give a shit attitude that like Butcher kind of has early on in The Boys, and that we like kind of think a lot of like this is who Butcher is before he shows some of his like lighter hearted and like softer sides. Which like makes sense a lot with the reveal, and like I don't know, I just love his screen presence and how he talks to people. And I thought after the twist that he's just like Butcher's imaginary friend, basically, that
Yeah.
he's going to be a lot less interesting, but he still remained like a pretty fun character to like keep track of and watch.
It does what a great twist does, in the fact that like whether you predict it or once you know it, it's still a great twist.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw that coming, obviously. Like I mean, I feel like by the time it's revealed, they're not trying to hide it that much.
Yeah.
But the way that reveal does when he starts shouting at Becca,
Mm-hmm.
it is powerful.
Yeah.
And then you're still so into him and
Mhm.
what his thoughts are within Butcher, because you know at the end of the day those are also Butcher's thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And Becca was great to bring back for that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's no longer just like, oh, here's some asshole who's just like pushing Butcher around trying to get him to do whatever. Now it's like, oh, this is a visual representation of Butcher's inner conflict.
It's a great show don't tell, even
Mhm.
though it's still dialogue. It's
Yeah.
very much showing that
No, agreed.
inner argument.
No, it's really good. It's really well done. I liked him a lot. I also like Sage a lot. I thought she was a very fun character. I really liked her inclusion in the show.
Yes, I love Sage.
Hmm.
Everything they did with her, I was into. I love
Hmm.
when she gets shot and then she's down and I gotta give it to the actress. Her name is, I wrote it down, Susan Hayward. Fantastic flip on everything.
Hmm.
Like playing dumb Sage, playing extremely smart Sage, and then the different emotions that we see Sage, because we get a lot of different feelings from her. I thought that was just a fantastic inclusion, and I'm really excited to see where they go with her next.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like I'm not, I don't really keep up with things on Twitter, but things pop into my timeline.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny, like in episode 7, a lot of like Sage ostensibly gets fired. Homelander's really pissed
Mm-hmm.
off. Yada yada yada. And there's like, people on Twitter being like, "Oh, Sage is so stupid. How could she have possibly thought it was going to work?" And the next episode, it's like, "Oh no, this was like very clearly and like well orchestrated. You know,
Yeah,
like this was the plan the whole time," which I really liked. You know,
yeah,
it like I was like kind of expecting Sage to have like come up with a contingency or this to be the plan. To see that
mm-hmm.
like in action and see everything like come together in the finale like that, like it's really cool.
What a great villain motivation. Just
Hmm.
like I wanted to see if I could do it.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I
That's so
love
cool.
I love villains who just do things because they're just so morbidly curious if they're able to.
Yeah. Curious and bored are definitely two of
Hmm.
my favorite villain motivations.
Yeah, no, I love Sage a lot.
On the flip side, we have Firecracker.
Yeah, I wasn't a
Yeah.
huge fan of Firecracker this season.
No.
And like not even for the reasons like obviously for the reasons I'm supposed to dislike Firecracker, I dislike her for, you know.
I feel like they almost could have done more with her and her purpose in
Hmm.
the season. I didn't find her whole beef with Starlight to be very interesting. A little contrived, maybe. At least the origins of it. The whole beauty pageant origins, I wasn't super sold by.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree. It was not particularly compelling to me. Like not only is it like very petty, obviously, which like is the point, but
Mm-hmm.
certainly it being the point makes it feel less interesting to me. And also,
Mm-hmm.
like, it wasn't a very strong focus of the season. Like, obviously, it's the reason Firecracker's doing what she's doing, but
Yeah.
even like what she's doing isn't really her plan as much as it is Sage and Homelander and Vought, like just telling her where to step, where to shout. You know,
By the end of episode 4, I want to say she almost just becomes another Ashley because her whole thing is
basically.
just being Homelander's pet.
Yeah, I just wasn't super compelled by Firecracker, both
Mm-hmm.
for the reasons like I don't like her for the reasons I'm supposed to, but like I also just don't find her particularly interesting as a character. I feel like it could have either gone a lot heavier into like the political commentary and like what that kind of like radical like speaksperson kind of is, which they get into, but
It's very heavy for like the first
yeah,
couple,
yeah,
but then
that's
it
true.
just kind of drops off. I really wanted to see the medication just kill her. I thought that would have been a great, just like,
I think that's what we're leading to.
yeah, I just wanted to see it now. Like I was like, that
I
would have
want
been
my
so
cake now.
funny to end it, just to end it that way for her. Like, no, she really, really wasn't very important,
Yeah,
and her dedication to Homelander killed her. I would have been all for it.
yeah, that would have been funny. Like, obviously, I think we're going to get a little bit more of her in Starlight before that happens. As a character, I'm not like particularly invested in or and have very little interest in having her die so nonchalantly. Would have been very funny in a similar way to where a lot of other characters, especially side characters, have
Yeah.
been killed off.
And I care less to see her killed by Starlight because I already want the Deep to be killed by Starlight so bad. Like, I'm
I don't
dying to
think
see
like
Starlight take out the Deep.
I don't think Starlight's going to kill her. I just think that there's going to be a little bit more of a
Yeah.
resolution with their like rivalry and arc before we like have her kicked off the show, basically.
Yeah. We still have so many characters I'm ready to just see die next season. Like they've left a lot of characters I want to visually
Yeah,
watch die.
yeah.
The Deep, probably number one.
Yeah.
Uh, Definitely a Firecracker. Obviously, I imagine everyone's wants to see Homelander go. You have to, right?
Mm.
You have to kill him brutally, right?
I I'm very interested in where we go with Homelander with his, because obviously I think the show has to end with him dying, whether it's really like morbid and gross, or if it's something a lot more like sophisticated and artistic. I don't really know which one I prefer. I don't know, killing Homelander in a very like gory and gross and like morbid way feels almost like the, is it Garth Ennis, the author of The Boys, like the comic?
Oh, yeah.
Feels a lot more in line with that, which is not a comic I particularly like.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't know, but if I have faith that they could also do a death like that pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? How would you
I
prefer?
almost want it to be so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I think I want to see it. Well, we know they're bringing Soldier Boy back. We know Soldier Boy can take the powers from a soup.
Mm-hmm.
I almost just want to see Homelander get his powers taken, then beat into a pulp for like 5 minutes by the but very much just like a, let's all gang up on him and stomp on him a bit, like not like a big like, oh, here's the big action scene. Like, no, he's a fucking baby on the floor.
I mean, that's what they did with Stormfront, you know.
That's true. That's true. They did do that with Stormfront. I want that on like a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Just give us like 10 guys kicking Homelander on the ground.
Just, I do think having Homelander lose his powers and then having him like be pretty pathetic for maybe an episode, maybe for a scene, whatever, is kind of naturally what we're leading to. It makes a lot of sense for his character because he's so reliant on just being both, like his philosophy, everything he does, everything that motivates him is driven by him being like physically stronger and able to like kill and maim whoever he wants whenever he wants. And he is like on the inside like a pretty dysfunctional, pretty pathetic, like not a functional person. so seeing something like that would be very satisfying.
We've even like, and I think they do this on purpose, which is why I mention it. Like, we've even seen him like shirtless. He's not like jacked like the Deep is or anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a very lean, skinny guy. Like, I think it's very much a guy that if he didn't have these powers, there's nothing he can do.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be, I think that's the way that makes sense. But at the same time, I'd love to be surprised by what they come up with.
Yeah, I don't think they always go with the obvious thing, which is nice.
Another, I guess, talking about obvious, the last death I imagine, I have a hard time not seeing happen in season 5 is Butcher. It's really hard to picture him making it out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I kind of figured that's where we were going from season 3 when Butcher like when Butcher and Homelander like sit down and have that conversation about like scorched earth. We're going to do everything to take each other down, yada yada.
Yeah,
feels very natural that that's where we're kind of leading to. And like obviously, Butcher has been on it basically this entire season. He's been on his last legs and only got off of them for reasons that I don't really get.
It just seems that the Joe version is able to keep him alive a bit longer.
Yeah,
with what the V is left in him.
Yeah, it's a V thing. How did you, kind of transitioning a little bit because we're speaking about Butcher? How did you like Butcher's kind of arc through this season? You can kind of like go through one by one all of them, but let's start with Butcher.
Yeah, Butcher feels so outside of the season. He feels very alone the whole season. Even when he's with characters, he feels alone. Mm-hmm. And I really liked it. I was into. I think he has one of the strongest arcs through the season.
Yeah.
I like his bits with Ryan. Ryan is probably the standout of the season for me, actually.
Yeah, I love
is so connected.
Ryan.
Yeah, I know something I mentioned to you before off podcast, but I should mention now so our viewers are in on our little conversations here. But I love how much Ryan's voice cracks. It's I don't know if it's like purposeful or if like the actor really does have a lot of voice cracking. It feels very purposeful, so it probably is. But yeah, it's such a great little thing to add to that character. That just gives him that little bit of separation from Homelander, because Homelander would never let anyone see his voice crack.
Mm-hmm.
No, he would do everything he could to stop that from happening.
Yeah, Ryan being very much imperfect and unbothered by that imperfection is like a perfect like contrast with Homelander, who is obsessed with seeming perfect and being perfect and not having any flaws.
Yeah, exactly. It was hard to watch that ending, I'll be honest. Like, I genuinely was like sad to see that be the ending.
Yeah.
He kills Grace. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Grace was doing a terrible job of not making that happen, but
yeah,
that was,
it feels weird. I don't know.
It's quite the kill me moment.
Granted, like, Ryan is like a teenager kid who like probably isn't thinking the most rationally in general, so who knows where that conversation would go generally. But that specific scene felt a little forced to me.
It's very heavy. It's laid on super heavy.
It's like, I feel like if everyone just like took a breath and just talked for a second, we could figure this out.
Yeah. I almost would have rather seen Joe be the one to push.
Yeah.
But I get they were really trying to sell that Butcher was not going to let that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see both sides, but I agree that felt a little almost just rushed, like, oh, we need to get them to their final places.
Yeah.
And we could have expanded on that a little better.
This is where Ryan ends his arc in this season, so we need to figure out how to get us there.
Do you want we keep going with arcs? I have some thoughts on Huey's.
Sure, yeah, let's talk about Huey.
Yeah. I think Huey's is super strong, like immensely strong until his dad dies. Like, first 5 episodes, we get some great Huey stuff. And then the last 3, they really don't do much with him.
Yeah, like once his dad dies, which I liked a lot. That not only everything leading up to that episode was like really, really impactful and really like hit me. And then after that, it's like he really doesn't have much to do. And like the stuff he does do, which is like him with the Starlight imposter, is like, I don't know. It's not very engaging, and the reaction from everyone else to Huey like hanging out with the doppelganger feels like very mean for like no reason.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. And that's not a great portrayal of like Starlight. Like and we can go farther into that, but no, I think that's a disservice to the character of Starlight, actually.
Yeah.
Especially when she already gets online hate that she doesn't deserve.
Yeah.
Just for being her.
Yeah.
It almost goes against how they set up the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
You have these first few episodes that are all about like them dragging her image in unfair ways, and then you have this character portrayed as not. Yeah. No, that did frustrate me.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's tough because like Starlight is like kind of at an emotional low. It's like her lashing out at Huey makes sense theoretically, but it really doesn't feel like it's being portrayed as Starlight is lashing out unnecessarily, and more that like it feels like the show is portraying Huey as being in the wrong, which I don't really.
Yeah,
I don't agree with.
Did not vibe with that, no.
Yeah. But overall, like, everything before that, I really liked.
Yeah.
I think Huey's arc is really strong. His relationship with his dad has been, like, kind of on and off before this. And so getting, like, a strong conclusion with that is good to see, and kind of, and not only ends his arc for that season, but, like, kind of wrapped up some bows and some previous character stuff from previous seasons.
By far the most emotional thing The Boys, I think, has done.
Yeah.
I teared up a little bit, which I never would have expected from this show.
Yeah, no, I haven't really felt that level of emotion from The Boys before. Similarly, I also kind of had some emotional welling up which I was really caught off guard by.
Yeah, and I loved it. I love that. I love that it was able to do that.
Mm.
Frenchie and Kimiko, I have almost the opposite with them. I wasn't that into what they were doing with those characters for the beginning, but I really like where we ended with them
Mm.
and got to with them.
I liked Frenchie's stuff at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a natural evolution of like where we were going with this character. Obviously, he's like someone who's spent a lot of time like kind of being tortured by his past and like trying to like get over that and figure that out. And then seeing when he does try to confront his past with, oh God, what's his name? Is it Damien?
Yeah, we didn't see him for like the last few episodes, so
yeah, he stopped
don't think
existing
Damien
after
sounds
episode 5.
wrong.
I feel like it's a D.
Yeah, maybe I would have felt stronger about him too by the end if they had brought him back for like the last episode or something.
Yeah, if he didn't just like disappear after kicking Frenchie out, I feel like I would have been nice.
I think it was just hard for me. I feel like with those characters, we have done so much of them having trouble with their past. It was hard for me to grab onto them doing that again.
Yeah, I guess. I definitely felt that more with Kimiko. I wasn't particularly invested in Kimiko's arc this season because basically everything about her has been what's going on in her past and all that. And I feel like we had a stronger like ending to that in even season 2. But I don't know why Frenchie I liked and Kimiko I didn't like. I'm trying to like place my finger on it.
Colin was the name of his boyfriend.
Not even remotely close. Jesus.
Hey man, Colin. I don't know. I think bringing Colin back would have helped sell some of that stuff a little more. If it was like maybe, I know it's about Frenchie letting go, but maybe there has to be an apology in that sense. And not that he already didn't apologize. I don't know. I just he's so forgotten by the end of it. But I will say again, if we end the season with both these characters finally like letting go of their past and just being who they are now and accepting each other and accepting that they're okay for each other, then I guess it was all kind of worth it. I just wish I was a little more grabbed by both of the starts.
Yeah.
2 characters who get kind of paired together that I really enjoyed, both of them and the pairing, were Mother's Milk and A-Train.
Oh, yeah.
A-Train's another MVP this season, I would say.
Yeah, I really like what they're doing with A-Train. I really like that they're kind of giving him this like redemption arc here because he's a character that has like flittered on and off with being like sympathetic and like just as bad as some of the other members of the 7. Obviously, season 1, he's like a pretty despicable person.
Takes out Robin, obviously not on purpose, but still horrible.
Yeah, and then Claw something. What's her name? Popclaw.
Popclaw. Yeah, he kills Popclaw on purpose.
Yeah, so like there's obviously like a pretty big road for him to like get
and he has that chance at redemption in season 3, and then he gets Supersonic killed, which is really one of, I think, the worst things they portrayed him doing. So, but I like that it took time. And I mean, some people might feel this way. I don't think he's fully redeemed.
No.
And I think it's cool that we got to see pieces of that, and I hope that continues. I think a really cool I think everyone's kind of expecting him to have some big sacrifice in the last season. I'd actually rather see him probably go on to be one of like a true superhero, which don't exist. So like that would be a very cool ending to that character. Would be like he's going to go on to actually be what a true superhero would look like. But we will see.
Because he is like someone who's had good intentions and just like didn't do them well enough. So like having his arc end with him like actually doing something good and helping out, him being able to like live up to the vision that his like this image that his nephews have of him and like actually being a hero, I think would make a lot of sense for where he ends up. But I could also see the like heroic sacrifice thing playing into that as well. I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go with A-Train in general.
Yeah.
What did you think of MM's kind of story arc?
Yeah, MM has been really interesting. I think he takes a little bit of a backseat here in terms of not as quite as much coverage, but he did have quite a bit of coverage in 3 because he's so related to Soldier Boy. But but I really enjoyed him being the leader of the boys for a bit. Uh, I almost was sad to see him feel he needed to step down because I think he is a great natural leader. Obviously, he was having some of those issues though with the panic attacks, and that worked really well for me too. I was like, it's a great place to put that character, and he's extremely OCD. I imagine it's just easy to see him having that issue, and it's cool to see that issue portrayed by such a strong character. So I really enjoyed that. I liked how much they brought Monique in this time, and how close he was to her, and you could feel his struggle between wanting to just have his life back with Monique and Janine, and also just doing what's best for the world, and real that's the world they live in. So I think through and through, Mother's Milk had a great arc this whole season, even though I just didn't feel like it was always at the forefront.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of what he did makes a lot of sense for his character. I like seeing his family get a lot more representation and have like a bigger impact because Monique and Janine have always been something that have been like present and an influencing factor in the show, but don't always have like a lot of like screen presence, and like giving them like something to do in this season was nice to see. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the characters for this season.
Okay. I wanted to talk just kind of some of the cameos we saw, because I know they always like to put some effort into who gets to cameo and stuff. So we had Will Ferrell as the coach.
Oh yeah, that was funny to see.
Yeah, Ferrell Streep, I think is what they say.
It is funny having Will Ferrell be like this overly sappy, overly produced like sport movie person, which is like not really where I think of like Will Ferrell. He really stuck out like a thumb in his scenes, which I think certainly on purpose, which I found very funny.
Yeah. We had Tilda Swinton was the voice of Ambrosia the octopus.
Oh yeah,
which was really fun.
That was cool.
Actually, this is a great point to talk about this. We had some Gen V cameos.
Oh yeah,
and I liked some of it, and I didn't like all of it.
What parts didn't you like?
Let's start with Tech Knight, just because I really liked how Tech Knight was used. It's not really a cameo.
Yeah,
but I really liked. That's a great way, I think, to cross over a character.
And
I think him dying was well done as well. Like, I think we're done. Like, we've done what we need to do with him.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to keep him alive because he started somewhere else. I thought that was cool. Sam and Kate. I did not like Sam and Kate in the first episode they appear in.
Yeah, they're just kind of there.
They're just very there. They each get like one line, and it just didn't feel natural at all.
Yeah.
I did like seeing them show up at the end, though, because the end was trying to show all of Homelander's followers. You have Love Sausage there from the from the last two seasons. You have Cindy, who we haven't seen from season 2. She was the patient from Sage Grove.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great place to put Sam and Kate.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense when you're trying to get this like feeling of we're pulling out everyone we have to like bring people together. That seems like a very natural inclusion for them.
Yeah. And as far as cameos go, the last thing I want to mention is this is the first season Seth Rogen did not cameo as himself. So that is another death I want to see in season 5. I want to see Seth Rogen show up one more time as himself and get brutally murdered in the 5th and final season.
So I remember in season 2 and 3. What do you do in season 1?
Season 1, he's talking about a movie he's producing.
Okay.
I actually don't remember what he does in season 2. I just know he's in it.
Oh, I think I was never mind. I was confusing the season 1 and season 2.
I don't. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember one of them. I can't promise which one I don't remember. I just looked at the IMDb.
Those are the ones I remember.
Yeah, he on the IMDb he's listed as appearing in all 3 seasons. So I just went by IMDb.
That's fair.
Let's talk about character deaths to kind of end off here, because we did have quite a few this season.
Yeah.
Victoria Newman probably being the biggest.
I was kind of shocked by that.
Yeah.
That's one
were you happy with it?
I don't know. I really, with a lot of these character deaths, I feel very like, I don't know, killing off characters who have like been in the series I feel like is something that should be done kind of gracefully, and doesn't always feel like it's done the most gracefully in the show. Sometimes it feels like, oh, we're just killing off this character just because it's unexpected and kind of shocking.
Yeah.
So Newman, I don't think has that as much, but like, I don't know. I'm conflicted.
I kind of like the place they end her at, but it was a character I really liked and would have liked to have seen a little more from at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think at least she ended on in a place I liked where she was at.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just killing her because they felt they needed to kill her still. It's kind of cool to be like, open the season wanting to kill her, and then I'm kind of like, oh, I don't really want her to die right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool bait and switch. So that I can definitely enjoy that it was done that way. Or at least applaud. Ryan kills Grace. Again, I think on paper, I'm like, yeah, that's a good place to take both those characters. Is like that's a good place, great way to use Grace to push Ryan forward. But again, just felt very, very forced, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's one that's more along the lines of like, feels like we're doing it just to do it, or like, I don't know. I feel like Grace was probably one where they had the idea of Grace is dying this season, Ryan's probably going to be the one to kill her, but how we get there is unclear. And I didn't really like the road we went on to get to the destination, you know?
We lost Cameron Coleman, who I've definitely enjoyed, but I was happy to see him go. It's one of those characters I think he's gotta die.
Yeah. I didn't feel a whole lot about him. I haven't really I was not super, like, he's one of the side characters I kind of forgot about, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel super one way or the other about it.
Mm-hmm. They did these shorts between season 2 and 3, and that's how they introduced him. Is he was reporting the news as Cameron Coleman for all the shorts. Okay. So that was I had a very strong introduction to him because he was like the main character of what I was introduced to him in. So I've really always enjoyed him in the background and stuff. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it was good for him to die that way because again, he's a terrible person, and that's what this show does. But also, it brought back this whole like, all these soups are terrible to be a human in a room with. Like when Deep and all these guys are killing him. Tech Knight, I really like I said, I really like see dying. I think that was a good death to have. Web Weaver was just atrocious. I don't know if that was needed, but clips people will repost.
I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't like Web Weaver. We talked about this off pod. I'm not like a big shock humor kind of guy, and I know that's kind of baked into the identity of the boys. Like not a lot, but you know, the shock humor in the boys is important to its identity and like what people like about it.
Yeah.
And to me, I just like, I don't know, when stuff like Web Weaver like pops on screen, it's like, this is just gross, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I get it's supposed to be funny, but I don't find it particularly funny.
Well, I think you can compare that to like Homelander killing all those people. That felt impactful, like in episode 4. And here, it very much feels like, well, we got to have our gross scenes because that's what we're known for. So no, I wasn't particularly into the Web Weaver death either.
No.
We lost Ambrosia the octopus. I did really like that. I love the turn so she dies and immediately Deep goes to Sage, and she's like, what a great line to be like, oh, she lets you lobotomize her too, and he's like, what are you talking about? That's genius. That was so good.
That was really funny. And I like that Deep is like going back to being pretty sinister and like actually pretty evil, because we've had a lot of like inept and incompetent Deep up until this point. Like, he's clearly very pathetic, but I feel like in order for him to, like, for us to like want him to have some karmic retribution, for there to like be an investment in something happening to the Deep, we're going to have to be reminded that he, at the end of the day, he is like really shitty. Like in season 1, he's like a complete asshole. But I don't know, season 2 and 3, I felt a lot more like, oh, let's just shit on the Deep.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm glad we're kind of getting back to the Deep being like actually a very morally dark kind of person.
I agree. Yeah, and that's good for just audience reception, I think.
Mm.
Because I think a lot of people were almost attaching to the Deep and like, oh, well, he's one of the funny characters, and he is funny, but
Yeah.
you also want him to you want him to be hated.
Mhm.
You should not like the Deep.
Yeah.
He is a horrible, horrible human.
Yeah.
We lost Todd, Janine's stepdad. Yeah, he gets killed in the first episode.
Yeah.
That was the only part of that for me that I thought was funny is I was following the Todd Twitter account that someone had that was always tweeting like Homelander's the best, all this type stuff.
Mhm.
So it was really funny to see they had on the Twitter account. It was like this is from Todd's mom. He's passed away. He was such a patriot. So I always enjoy the humor kind of outside the show.
Yeah. I don't keep up with any of the like social media boys stuff, but I hear it's like quite funny.
Yeah, it's basically role play because like almost every comment is like Homelander would never do that. Oh, Homelander's great. And it's fun. It's a fun thing to have with the community as long as you don't overstep it. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then just some less important deaths. Ezekiel died. We hadn't seen him since season 1, so that was fun to see him come back.
Yeah, I forgot Ezekiel.
Yeah,
because I had watched the Ezekiel episode for season 4 before doing my rewatch of the other seasons, and I straight up forgot Ezekiel showed up in season 1. So it was really funny to like see him again. I was like, oh, whoa, yeah, that's right.
It's funny. Now I did remember him. That episode in season 1 actually stands out to me quite a bit. I really liked that episode, so I did remember him. And then we had a few like really small characters who have been like in every season that died. I'm just gonna say their name. Other Ashley. That's one of them. I think she's in. Is it season 2 that she's introduced? 3?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think season 2.
Evan Lambert is one of those dudes that like pitches the movie stuff. And the Deep kills him. Doug Friedman was like a lawyer. He was in a couple of the seasons. He was season 1 and 2, I think, and that's the one Firecracker kills.
Right.
And then one I was actually sad to see go is Annika, and she was the crime analyst girl that Homelander kills in season 3 or 4. She's been in every season, and she was always kind of fun to like have on and see the very like human reaction to all the stuff happening at VOD. So I was sad to see her go.
Yeah, I feel weird because there are a lot of like side characters like her that I really like and I like seeing. Yeah, it was unfortunate seeing her go. Definitely a character I liked a lot. She had some pretty funny moments, especially with like Noir in season 3.
Yeah. Her and Starlight kind of had a little back and forth, which was fun. So that wraps up that. So I guess just kind of like final thoughts. We've ended with Homelander basically having control of the White House, and all the soups listen to what Homelander says, and definitely a good setup for a final season.
Yeah, no, this is definitely an interesting spot to leave us with.
Yeah,
I think the final episode. I think the season premiere and finale of every season has been really strong, and this is no different. I really liked where we left off with this, especially because all the boys have been captured. So like,
yeah, it's just Starlight and Butcher are still around, and Butcher's not really going to be very helpful to them.
Yeah, Butcher is like kind of part of the reason they're kind of in the shit, you know?
Yeah. No, that was a great ending. That was a really well done.
I like that a lot. You mentioned there were some spinoffs.
Yes, I did want to talk about the future of where we're going. Well, next year we have Gen V Season 2. Okay. Only thing we know about that, they just confirmed that Chase Crawford will be returning as the Deep for it. So we'll have some Deep in Season 2. And they, very unfortunately, Trance Pardo has passed away, so his character is going to be written out. But I can appreciate doing that. I think a lot of people say recast characters when the actors die, but I'm always for them choosing to honor the character, honor the actor retiring the character, and you can find creative ways to do that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely a respectful thing, and if they can do it in a way that feels natural, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. I don't really want to see the actor CGI'd into some flashback and then take that as honoring it. I don't need to see the actor's face other than in photos or footage that was already shot.
Yeah, don't recreate them with AI.
Oh, no. Please. Begging you. No. And then 2026 is probably when Boys Season 5 will air. So that will be our big finale. We know Soldier Boy's coming back. They've confirmed he's going to be a series regular, so he's going to have a big role. So that's cool. And then we have 2 spinoffs on the way, which Vought Rising is one of them. It's a Soldier Boy show. It takes place in the 1950s.
Oh.
It's going to be about the start of Vought, and I guess kind of a mystery show. And they've confirmed that Stormfront will also be returning for that.
Right. That makes sense.
Which they've kind of talked about Soldier Boy and when she's Liberty when he knew her, but those two interacting. So that should be. I know obviously Soldier Boy is one of the most popular characters, so that should be a fun show. I know a lot of people were talking about why would he bring Liberty in as a main character because she's so evil. I think you can have very evil main characters.
I mean, Soldier Boy is a very evil character as well.
Definitely, he's done some horrible stuff. We see that he was horrible to his whole team, Noir, and what is his name? Ammo Kid. His name's not Ammo Kid, but I'm gonna call him Ammo Kid.
I know who you're talking about.
So no, and I think you can have anyone as your protagonist as long as if someone's an evil character, you portray them as evil. You're not like oh, we're condoning these actions,
right? Of course,
or like we know they're evil. And then it wasn't talked about much at Comic-Con, but it still seems to be in development, which is The Boys Mexico. We really don't know much about it. We know who's producing it. Gael Garcia Bernal and Diego Luna, 2 very good actors, but they haven't confirmed if they'll actually be acting in it themselves. I'm all for. I like ideas like that because again, The Boys Mexico on paper, it's not you don't immediately know what that's about, which means there's probably a pretty solid idea behind it that they're like, we want to tell a different story like this. So I get excited for stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting to me. On paper, I don't really know where you go with that, so I'm curious to see.
It's interesting that it's called The Boys Mexico, and not like Gen V. So is it a different group of boys?
Yeah.
Well, do we have any more thoughts on The Boys?
No.
No, not till next week for episode 2. So.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're excited for more Boys Season 4 thoughts, tune in for the next episode next week. I was about to do the ER segment again because we did that at the end of the episode last time, but we already talked about ER.
We already talked about ER. I don't think we're talking about Smiling Friends this week.
Oh God, no! Are you kidding?
We can try to throw that on Deadpool.
Maybe. We just keep pushing it off.
Yeah, it's our Matt Damon.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe next time we talk about Smiling Friends, Season 3 will be out. We can just talk about Season 2.
There you go. Synergy.
Yeah, we did it. Oh, God. Well,
okay, wrap us up here, host.
Well, Grant, thank you for special guesting on my podcast. It was very nice having you as always.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I appreciate it. You got anybody set up for next week?
No.
Oh, just going to talk by yourself?
I want to have a 3-hour segment talking all to myself about my opinions about various boys' side projects.
Okay.
And
nice.
If you're interested in any Dark Universe or Mummy related material, check out my other podcast, the Dark Universe Podcast, which had its debut
episode 2 of that coming out?
You'll just have to follow me on Twitter to find out.
Do you have it? Is there a Twitter they can find you at?
Yeah, you can also find me on Instagram or Reddit. So, as always, thank you for having me, Grant. Or no, thank you for coming on to my show, Grant.
Yep.
It was a pleasure as usual. And
Okay.
we will see you next time, where we will be discussing more Boys Season 4. As in you, I mean the audience, not you, Grant Smiley, because obviously you are a special guest. You will not be returning.
I won't be here.
Please get off of my show. Please leave.
I'm gone.
Please. Bye. Okay. Thank God. Jesus. Can't believe that guy. Anyways, yep. Follow me on all the social media, all the things, and I will see you next time.
I'm still here. Ah.